Voices in the static. The switchboard lit up like a pinball machine. 27 calls holding. The producer mouthing, "Holy shit," through the booth glass. I'd never seen anything like it in 15 years of late-night radio. "Okay, friends," I said, pulling my headphones tighter. "You heard my confession. Now I want to hear yours. The phone lines are yours. Tell me what keeps you awake about retirement." I pressed line 1. The voice that came through was tight, with the kind of tension you hear in emergency rooms and IRS audit meetings. "Mira, this is Tom from Cincinnati. I have $900,000 in my 401k. $900,000. My financial advisor says I'm set for life. But I'm 64 and I can't pull the trigger on retirement. What if the market crashes the day after I retire? What if inflation eats it all? What if—" "Tom," I interrupted gently, "when's the last time you took a vacation?" Silence. Then, 2018. Disney World with the grandkids. The paralyzed millionaire. "Tom, you have $900,000, but you're living like you're broke. Tell me about sequence of returns risk. I know you've researched it." He laughed nervously. "I've read every article. If the market drops 30% in my first 2 years of retirement while I'm withdrawing, I could run out by 80. The Monte Carlo simulations say. The simulations don't know you have grandkids who are growing up without you." I said, "What's your Social Security benefit if you claim now versus waiting?" $3,000 if I claim at my full retirement age next year. $3,200 if I wait until 70. So between Social Security and a conservative 4% withdrawal rate from your 401k, you'd have about $6,000 monthly. "Tom, what do you spend now?" "Maybe $4,000. But what about healthcare? I'm not eligible for Medicare until 65. What about Cobra? Costs about $700 monthly. Aka Marketplace might be less." "Tom, you're so busy protecting money you're not living. Your sequence is backward. It's people, time, then money. Not the other way around." The line went quiet. Then Tom said something that stopped my heart. "My dad died at 71. Full pension. Never spent a dime of it. The RMD panic." Line 2 crackled to life. "This is Sandra from Columbus. I'm 72 and the IRS is forcing me to take $32,000 from my IRA this year. My required minimum distribution. I don't need it. My husband's pension covers everything. But if I take it, it'll push us into a higher tax bracket and increase our Medicare Part B premiums through IRMAA." "Sandra, have you heard of qualified charitable distributions? The what now? QCDs. You can send up to $100,000 directly from your IRA to charity. Counts toward your RMD but never hits your taxable income. No tax, no IRMAA increase." I could hear her grab a pen. "Any charity? Any qualified 501c3? Your church, the food bank, the community college. One listener funds welding scholarships. Another sends it to the animal shelter. Your forced withdrawal becomes someone else's opportunity. But isn't that just giving money away? Sandra, you just said you don't need it. Would you rather give it to the IRS or to something you care about? And here's the kicker: you get to see the impact while you're alive. No waiting for your estate to settle. No family fights over your will. You get to watch your forced distribution change lives. The calls kept pouring in. 3 fears dominated the night. Market crash anxiety. What if I retire right before the next 2008? RMD resentment. Why is the government forcing me to take money I don't need? Medicare confusion. Part B costs more than my car payment. But Advantage could bankrupt me. Each caller had done the math. None had done the meaning. The Medicare maze. Line 3 brought Margaret from Cleveland, her voice shaking. I need knee replacement surgery. My doctor says I can't wait much longer. But I have Medicare Advantage and they want me to try physical therapy first. For the 3rd time, my neighbor has original Medicare with Medigap Plan G. She got her knee done in 2 weeks, paid nothing after her deductible. Did I make a mistake? Margaret, when did you choose Advantage? 5 years ago. 0 premium sounded perfect. My Social Security is only $1,600 a month. And now? Now I'm looking at potentially $7,000 in out-of-pocket costs. If I go out of network for the surgery, or waiting another 6 months in pain, I can't afford Medigap anymore. They can charge me more for pre-existing conditions since I'm past my initial enrollment window. This was the trap. Medicare Advantage great until you need it. Original Medicare plus Medigap expensive but comprehensive. And switching between them? Nearly impossible after 65 without medical underwriting. Margaret, document everything. Every denial, every delay. Appeal with your doctor's help. And for everyone listening who hasn't hit 65, yet your Medicare decision at enrollment could determine whether you get surgery in 2 weeks or 2 years. The premium you save today might cost you mobility tomorrow. The inflation terror. The calls kept coming. Phoenix, inflation ate 20% of my buying power in 3 years. Tampa, long-term care costs are doubling every decade. Portland, my financial advisor says I need $2 million now, not 1. I finally grabbed the mic with both hands. Stop. Everyone stop. You're doing retirement math when you should be doing retirement meaning. Here's what every one of you is really saying: I have enough money but not enough confidence. You're terrified of running out of money. But what you're really running out of is time to use it meaningfully. Cincinnati Tom with 900,000? Your grandkids don't care about your Monte Carlo simulation. They care about grandpa being at their baseball game. Sandra from Columbus, your RMD could fund 20 kids' community college tuition. Margaret from Cleveland, your knee is screaming louder than your Medicare Advantage premium savings. You want the real retirement withdrawal strategy? It's not 4% or 3% or dynamic spending. It's this: people first, time second, money third. Get the sequence right, and your 401k becomes a tool, not a tyrant. Your Social Security becomes a foundation, not a ceiling. Your Medicare becomes healthcare, not a financial product. The last caller of the night broke me. Betty from Zanesville, 81 years old. Mira, I have 700,000 in investments. My husband left me everything. I live on Social Security alone, $1,800 a month. I shop at Goodwill. You know why? Tell me, Betty. Because I'm saving it for my kids. They're in their 50s. They have their own 401 kiloseconds. Good jobs. But I can't shake the feeling that if I spend it, I'm stealing from them. Betty, what would your husband say if he saw you shopping at Goodwill? With $700,000 in the bank? Long pause. Then, through tears, he'd be furious. He'd say, Betty, I worked nights at the steel mill. So you could live, not so you could be afraid. Then honor him, Betty. Honor him by living. The phones kept ringing past 2 a.m. Each caller convinced their number was wrong. Too little, too much, too complicated, too simple. But underneath every financial fear was the same human truth. We've learned how to save. We've never learned how to spend. So here's my question for you watching: which of these fears feels closest to your own? The market crash that hasn't happened? The RMD you resent? The Medicare maze you can't navigate? The inflation monster under your bed? Drop it in the comments. Because tomorrow, we're going to face each fear with real stories from real retirees who found their sequence. This is Mira Han, reminding you that retirement isn't about having enough money to never run out. It's about having enough courage to use what you have while it still matters. The sequence remains people, time, then money. Not the other way around. The shadows of tomorrow. The on-air light dimmed to black. The phone lines finally quiet. I sat in the studio at 2:47 a.m., surrounded by scribbled notes from 63 callers. My hand cramped from writing. My throat raw from talking. But what echoed wasn't their individual fears, it was the shadow behind them all. Every caller thought they were asking about their personal number. But they were really asking about tomorrow. About forces bigger than any individual 401k balance. About risks no withdrawal strategy could fully solve. I pulled up my email. 847 messages since the show started. Subject lines screaming variations of the same terror. What if Social Security runs out? Inflation is killing me. Nursing home costs bankruptcy. The static from the old speakers filled the silence. Even the static sounded worried. The inflation monster. The first systemic fear was inflation, and it came from everywhere. Shirley in Akron wrote, "My Social Security COLA was 3.2%. But groceries went up 15%. How is that a cost of living adjustment when I can't afford to live?" She wasn't wrong. The Consumer Price Index that determines Social Security increases doesn't match retiree spending. Seniors spend more on healthcare, less on electronics. When Medicare Part B premiums jumped from $164 to $174.70. That's a 6.5% increase that eats most of the COLA. When prescription drugs double, when property taxes spike, when the senior center lunch goes from $3 to $7, that's the real inflation retirees face. I looked at my parents' budget from 2019 versus today. Same grocery list, $147 then, $216 now. Same medications, $45 then, $78 now. Same utilities $180 then, $247 now. Their Social Security went up $238 monthly over those years. Their costs went up $441. James from Missouri had done similar math. I retired in 2018. Thinking $4,000 a month was plenty. Same lifestyle now costs $5,400. My pension doesn't adjust. My 401k is bleeding out. What do I cut, medications or meals? The answer traditional advisors give? Build an inflation hedge. Invest in I-bonds, TIPS, dividend growth stocks. But tell that to someone choosing between blood pressure pills and groceries. They need income now, not hedges for later. The long-term care tsunami. Then came the long-term care emails. This wasn't fear, this was terror. Patricia from Florida. Mom's memory care facility is $8,700 a month. We've already spent her entire IRA. House is next. Then what? Medicaid? Have you seen those facilities? David from Phoenix. My wife needs home health aid 3 days a week. $32 an hour. Medicare covers nothing because it's custodial care, not skilled nursing. That's $12,000 a year we didn't plan for. The numbers were staggering. Median nursing home cost $108,000 annually for a private room. Home health aid $61,776 yearly for 44 hours per week. Adult daycare $20,280. And Medicare covers almost none of it unless you need skilled nursing after a hospital stay. And even then only for 100 days maximum. Long-term care insurance? If you bought it 20 years ago, maybe. Today, a 60-year-old couple would pay $7,000 annually for coverage that might pay $150 daily. After a 90-day waiting period. And insurers can raise premiums. Some policies have seen 300% increases. We're one fall from bankruptcy, wrote Ellen from Des Moines. 40 years of saving gone in 18 months of memory care. 4 risks keeping retirees awake. Inflation outpacing fixed incomes. Social Security. COLA doesn't match real senior spending. Long-term care costs $100,000 yearly with minimal Medicare coverage. Regional cost disparities. Retiring in California versus Alabama means 2x living costs. Market sequence. Risk a 2008-style crash in early retirement could devastate portfolios. Each risk alone was manageable. Together, they formed a perfect storm. The geography trap. Location came up constantly. Robert from San Diego. My house is worth $900,000. But property tax is $12,000 yearly. Social Security is $2,400 monthly. I'm house rich and cash strangled. Meanwhile, Linda from Alabama paid off house, property tax. $800 yearly. Living comfortable on $2,000 monthly Social Security. But my grandkids are in Seattle. Moving there would triple my costs. The geography trap. Stay where it's affordable but far from family. Or move near loved ones and watch money evaporate. Some were trying splits. 6 months in Florida, 6 months in Michigan. But that meant double the utility bills, double the maintenance, Double the worry. Best states to retire for cost of living. Searches were up 400% this year. Everyone looking for the formula: low taxes, good healthcare, near family, safe neighborhoods, moderate climate. That place doesn't exist. Every location is a compromise between money and meaning. The sequence of returns nightmare. Then the investment fears. Mark from Denver captured it perfectly. If 2008 happens again, right after I retire, I'm done. Withdrawing from a declining portfolio is like bailing out a sinking boat with a bucket full of holes. Sequence of returns risk. The timing of market crashes relative to retirement kept coming up. Retire in 1999 before the dot-com crash? Your million might last 15 years. Retire in 2003 after the recovery? Same million lasts 30 years. The traditional answer: keep 2 years' expenses in cash. Use a bucket strategy. Consider annuities for guaranteed income. But Nancy from Portland pushed back. Annuities? The immediate annuity quote I got would give me $470 monthly per $100,000. That's a 5.6% payout that never grows with inflation. I'd need to live 18 years just to get my money back. She wasn't wrong. Annuities solve one problem: guaranteed income, while creating others: no liquidity, no inflation adjustment, no legacy. Yet for some, that guarantee meant sleeping through the night. The Social Security cliff. The biggest shadow? Social Security's projected shortfall in 2033. Every caller under 70 mentioned it. Should I claim at 62 before it's gone? Asked Jennifer from Columbus. The fact Social Security can't go to zero, current workers still pay in. But without changes, benefits might get cut to 80% of promised amounts. For someone expecting $2,000 monthly, that's a $400 cut. For couples living on dual Social Security, it's devastating. The responses varied wildly. Some were claiming early, to get something before it's gone. Others delaying to 70, to maximize whatever survives. Both strategies assumed catastrophe. Neither addressed the real issue. We're planning retirement around apocalypse scenarios instead of probable outcomes. I stacked the emails, turned off the console, and sat in darkness. Except for the exit sign glow. These weren't individual problems anymore. They were systemic cracks in the retirement promise. But here's what 15 years of these conversations has taught me. The shadows are real, but so is adaptation. Sun Wu faced inflation by changing his spending patterns, not his happiness. Ya Young faced widowhood by redefining wealth. Every retiree who called tonight was already adapting, they just didn't realize it. The layered strategy isn't about solving everything. It's about solving enough. Social Security pension for the floor. Strategic withdrawals from 401 KRAs for flexibility. Roth conversions for tax management. Maybe partial annuitization for sleep. Geographic arbitrage if needed. Family as the ultimate safety net. But most importantly, permission to live despite uncertainty. So here's my question for you: if you had to pick one, inflation, health costs, or Social Security cuts, which risk worries you most? Tell me in the comments, because your answer determines your sequence. Tomorrow, I'll share how 3 couples are building their layer cake guaranteed income on bottom. Flexible money in middle, dreams on top. None of them have millions. All of them have plans. This is Mira Han, reminding you that retirement security isn't about eliminating every risk. It's about choosing which risks you'll manage and which you'll accept. Because the biggest risk isn't running out of money. It's running out of time. Pretending tomorrow's shadows are darker than today's sunshine.